A simple 5-second movement could mean the difference between staying alive or not. And I'm not just saying that. I'm saying it because it happened to me. One morning, like any other, I woke up feeling strange. I couldn't move my right arm well. I thought it was because I'd slept wrong. But when I tried to speak, the words didn't come out right. I barely managed to lift my left hand and give a light knock against the wall. That small gesture, that 5-second movement, was what alerted my neighbor. And thanks to that, I'm here to tell you about it. A stroke doesn't always arrive with great pain or an obvious sign. Sometimes it starts with something mild. Numbness, dizziness, trouble speaking, and many times we ignore it. We think it will pass, but it doesn't pass. It gets worse. And when we realize it, it can be too late. In this video, I want to tell you everything I wish I had known before. I'm going to explain how to identify the first symptoms of a stroke, which are the most common mistakes we make. And above all, I'm going to teach you a simple movement you can practice today that can help you gain precious seconds if it ever happens to you. It doesn't matter if you live alone or if you've already had a health problem before. This video can help you prepare for a moment when there's no time to lose. Because when it comes to the brain, every minute counts. Before we go on, I'd like to get to know you a bit more. How old are you? From which city or country are you watching me? Leave it in the comments. I love knowing where you're joining from. And now, let's begin. What a stroke is and why it's so common in older adults. You've surely heard about strokes. Maybe you even know someone who has been through one. But what few people know is how silent and fast it can be, and why after the age of 60, it becomes an even more real threat. A stroke, medically also known as a cerebrovascular accident, happens when the flow of blood to a part of the brain is interrupted. That interruption can last seconds, but the effects can last a lifetime, or end it. Picture this. The brain needs a constant supply of oxygen and nutrients. That oxygen travels in the blood. If for some reason the blood doesn't arrive, brain cells begin to die. And we're not talking about days, we're talking about minutes. That's why every second counts. There are two main types of strokes. The first and most common is called an ischemic stroke. It accounts for approximately 8 out of 10 cases. It occurs when a clot blocks an artery that carries blood to the brain. It's as if a pipe suddenly got clogged. The second is a hemorrhagic stroke, less common but more dangerous. Here, instead of a blockage, what happens is a rupture. A blood vessel inside the brain breaks and causes bleeding. Internal pressure rises, and the damage can be immediate. Why does the risk increase as we age? Because our blood vessels age too. Over the years, they become more fragile, stiffer, more prone to breaking or getting blocked. If we add to that other factors like high blood pressure, diabetes, high cholesterol, or even accumulated stress, the danger multiplies. According to the World Health Organization, 1 in 6 people will suffer a stroke at some point in their lives. But most cases occur in people over 60, and more than half of them could have been avoided with information, prevention, and quick reaction. Here's the most important part. Time is everything. A stroke doesn't always cause pain. It doesn't always knock you out instantly. Sometimes it just numbs a hand or slightly changes the way you speak. And if you ignore those signals, the damage can become irreversible. In the first minutes after a stroke, the brain is in a race against time. For every minute that passes without medical attention, millions of neurons die. And each of them controls vital functions: speech, movement, memory. That's why it's vital that you learn to recognize the symptoms and know what to do if it ever happens to you, or to someone who's with you. And now that you understand what a stroke is and why it becomes more common with age, let's talk about something even more important: how to recognize its signs before it's too late. The first symptoms we almost always ignore. The most dangerous thing about a stroke isn't only what it does, but how it starts. Because at the beginning, many of its symptoms are so subtle, so easy to confuse, that a large portion of people don't give them importance. And that's the big mistake. Imagine that one day you get up feeling a bit odd. You feel a slight tingling in your arm. Maybe an object slips from your hand and you think, I must have slept wrong. You try to speak, but you notice you're pronouncing words strangely. I must just be tired, you think. What you don't know is that you're losing time. And with every minute that passes, the cells in your brain are dying in silence. That's exactly what happened to Claire, a 73-year-old woman who lived alone. That morning she felt dizzy and a slight pressure in her head. She walked toward the kitchen and stumbled, but she attributed it to being dehydrated. She drank water. She sat down. She waited. She didn't call anyone. 2 hours later, she couldn't move the right side of her body, and her speech became unintelligible. When the ambulance finally arrived, the damage was already severe. Today, Claire lives with partial paralysis and difficulty communicating. The symptoms of a stroke don't always arrive all at once or with the same intensity. Sometimes only one appears. Sometimes they show up for minutes and then disappear. But all of them must be taken seriously. These are the most common signs you should know. Sudden numbness in the face, arm, or leg, especially on one side of the body. Confusion or difficulty speaking or understanding what others say. Sudden loss of balance, dizziness, or difficulty walking. Vision problems in one or both eyes, blurred vision, double vision, or even temporary blindness. Very strong and sudden headache with no apparent cause. Lack of coordination, unusual clumsiness in simple movements. But there are other symptoms that are often overlooked. A feeling of general weakness without explanation. Changes in behavior or in the way of reacting. Difficulty swallowing. Lack of strength in the hand when holding everyday objects. It's easy to think, it will pass, or I just need to rest a bit. But when it comes to the brain, there's no room for waiting. Every minute counts, and what today seems like simple dizziness could change your life forever tomorrow. The most painful part of these stories is that many times, when someone arrives at the hospital, the doctor says something nobody wants to hear. If you had arrived earlier, don't let that happen to you. Don't underestimate those small signs. And if you ever have a doubt, act as if it were a stroke. Because if it isn't, you lose nothing. But if it is, you could save your life. The 3-sign test that can save you. When a stroke begins, every minute without medical attention is a direct threat to your brain. But there's a simple, quick, and tremendously effective tool anyone can use to know if someone, including yourself, is having a stroke. It's what many call the 3-sign test. No medical device is needed, no ambulance. Just observe 3 things, and do it immediately. The first sign, ask the person to smile. A smile can reveal more than you imagine. If one side of the mouth doesn't lift or droops, it's one of the clearest signs. It means that one of the brain's hemispheres is failing to control the facial muscles. It's subtle, but alarming. The second, ask them to lift both arms at the same time. If one arm stays lower, if they can't raise it, or if it slowly falls, it's a sign of one-sided muscle weakness. The body doesn't respond equally. Even if the person says they're fine, their body is saying otherwise. The third, ask them to repeat a simple phrase. It can be something like, "Today is a good day." If they slur their words, if they can't speak clearly, or if they say things that make no sense, that can mean the part of the brain responsible for speech is being affected. These 3 steps can be done in less than a minute. And if even one of them fails, you must not wait. You must not doubt. You must call emergency services immediately. And the most powerful thing about this test is that anyone can learn it, even a child. And that brings us to a story worth telling. His name is Andrew. He's 10 years old. He lives with his grandmother Martha, a 78-year-old woman who has cared for him since he was little. One afternoon, while they were watching television, Andrew noticed that his grandmother was speaking strangely. She tried to get up to go to the bathroom, but she staggered. He, who had seen a video at school about the signs of stroke, reacted immediately. He asked her to smile. Only one side of her face moved. He asked her to raise her arms. One drooped. And when he asked her to repeat a phrase, she couldn't say it right. Without panicking, Andrew called the emergency number. He gave his address. He said his grandmother might be having a stroke. Thanks to his quick action, the doctors arrived in time. Today, Martha can walk, speak, and live her life normally, because her grandson knew what to do at the exact moment. That's why it's so important that you and the people around you know this test. Share it with your children, your grandchildren, your neighbors. Practice it with them. Teach them to act quickly, because someday that knowledge could save your life, or save the life of someone you love. The 5-second movement that can help save you. Now that you know the most common signs of a stroke and the 3-sign test, I want to tell you about something not many people know. It's a simple movement. It doesn't require medicine, technology, or medical devices. You only need your body and 5 seconds. This movement can help you in the first instance of a stroke, when the brain starts to fail, but you still have some control. It can be the difference between being totally immobilized or managing to attract someone's attention. And most importantly, you can practice it starting today. It's about closing your palm tightly and keeping it clenched for 5 seconds. As simple as that. It doesn't seem like much. But if you ever find yourself in a situation where your body won't respond, this gesture can activate neurological reflexes, stimulate circulation, and, in some cases, maintain some connection between the brain and the motor system. And if you live alone, it can also help you make a small noise, knock on a wall, or toss a nearby object to call for help. I want you to imagine the scene. You're alone at home. You feel slight numbness. Something isn't right. You want to move, but your right arm doesn't respond. Your voice doesn't come out as usual. Fear paralyzes you. But you remember this movement. You take a breath, focus your attention on your left hand, and clench it tightly. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 seconds. In that moment, you manage to extend your arm. You throw a book to the floor. The noise alerts a neighbor. Help arrives. And you've just earned a second chance. Does this mean that this gesture will stop a stroke? No. But it can help you avoid being completely passive. And that's what most affects you in those moments. The feeling of being trapped in your own body, unable to do anything. The key is to practice it every day, like a small drill. You don't need to do it for hours. It's enough that once or twice a day, while you're sitting or watching television, you clench one hand tightly for 5 seconds, then the other. This trains your body and mind so that in an emergency, that reaction is faster. You can even make it a family routine. Teach it to your partner, your children, your grandchildren. Explain why it's important. Tell them that if they ever see you doing that gesture with difficulty or unable to finish it, it's a warning sign. Prevention isn't always about avoiding something from happening. Sometimes it's about being prepared, about having small tools that, at the right moment, give you another chance. 5 seconds may seem little, until you discover they can give you life. What to do in the first 3 minutes after the first symptom? There's a saying among emergency doctors, time is brain, and it's not an exaggeration. Every minute that passes without medical attention during a stroke represents millions of neurons that die. Millions. One by one. Silently. That's why the first 3 minutes after the first symptom are not only important, they're vital. And yet, most people, when they feel something strange, do exactly the opposite of what they should do. They lie down. They wait. They tell themselves it's just tiredness. They take a pill thinking it's a blood pressure spike. And with that, they lose critical time. Let's make it clear. This is what you must never do if you suspect you're having a stroke. Do not lie down hoping it will pass. Do not self-medicate. Do not call a relative to see what they think. Do not try to walk if you feel you're losing balance. Do not tell yourself it's just dizziness and go to sleep. In those first 3 minutes, every second counts. The first thing you must do, even if you have the slightest suspicion, is the following. First, call emergency services immediately. Don't write a message. Don't search the internet. Don't wait to feel worse. Dial your country's emergency number. If you can, use a voice assistant or a medical alert. If someone is nearby, shout, make noise. Use that 5-second movement you've learned to draw attention. Second, put yourself in a safe position. If you're standing and feel weak, sit or lie on your side, preferably on the floor with a pillow or towel under your head. Don't remain standing if you feel you might lose balance. A fall could make everything worse. Third, inform whoever is nearby. If someone is with you, tell them what you feel. Even if you can't speak clearly, try pointing at your face, your arm, make gestures. The important thing is that person understands you're unwell and needs to act for you. Fourth, do not try to move more than necessary. Many people force themselves to get to the hospital alone, climb stairs, drive, or walk long distances with symptoms. That only makes things worse. Blood pressure can skyrocket. Brain damage can accelerate. Let help come to you. Now listen to this real story. Louis is 79 years old. He has lived alone for more than a decade. That morning, while pouring coffee, he noticed that his left arm wasn't responding normally. He tried to speak, and his voice came out strange, slurred. At another time, he would have waited. He would have thought it was his blood sugar. But this time, he remembered advice from his doctor. If you feel something odd, call before you think. Louis dialed instantly. He sat on the floor and rested his back against the wall. In less than 15 minutes, the ambulance arrived. He was diagnosed with a mild ischemic stroke. Thanks to his quick reaction, the doctors could administer the correct treatment in time. Today, Louis not only walks and talks normally, he also became the one who gives talks at his senior center about what to do in an emergency. The speed with which he acted saved his life and his independence. So remember this. If you ever feel that something in your body isn't working right, even if it's mild, act as if it were a stroke. If it isn't, nothing happens. But if it is, you will have done the right thing. How to prepare your environment for a real emergency. Knowing what to do in case of a stroke is vital, but equally important is having your environment prepared for when it happens. Because when seconds count, there's no time to look for phones, explain medical conditions, or run out in search of help. You have to have everything ready beforehand. The first thing is very simple, but often forgotten. Keep the emergency number visible at all times. It can be stuck on the refrigerator, near the phone, in your wallet, next to the bed. Write it big, with a thick marker. Even if you know it by heart, the stress of an emergency can block you. Don't be overconfident. Keep it in sight. Second, carry a card with your medical information. It can be a laminated paper or an ID bracelet. The important thing is that it states your full name, your age, illnesses you have, medications you take, allergies, and an emergency contact. If you faint or lose speech, that may be the only thing that helps paramedics act quickly. Third, if you can, use a medical alert or a voice assistant. Many older adults have saved their lives thanks to an emergency button they can press when they can't move. Others use devices like Alexa or Google Home with voice-activated commands. For example, Alexa, call emergency services. If you have access to one, set it up, and if you don't, consider discussing it with your family. Fourth, inform your neighbors. You don't have to tell them your whole life, but if you live alone, it's worth having at least 2 or 3 neighbors who know that if they hear a loud bang, a shout, or if they don't see you for a couple of days, they can knock on your door or call for you. Many people live surrounded by others, but no one knows what's happening behind the walls. Fifth, talk with your family or caregiver. Explain which symptoms could mean a stroke. Ask them not to hesitate, to act. Tell them that if you ever say, "I don't feel well, but it's nothing," they should take your words seriously. That they watch you. That they do the 3-sign test. That they react quickly, even if you try to downplay it. And last but essential, create your own reaction plan. You don't need to be an expert. Just sit down on a calm day and write the following. Whom do I call if I feel unwell? Where is the nearest phone? How can I make noise or ask for help if I can't speak? Who has a copy of my keys? Do I have sufficient information visible at home? Where do I keep my important medicines? Keep those answers in writing. And review them from time to time. Because when the body fails, the mind clouds. But a clear plan can make the difference. I want you to think of this like a seatbelt. You don't wear it because you expect to crash. You wear it because if something happens, you want the best chance of coming out okay. How to prevent a stroke starting today with simple changes. Preventing a stroke isn't a matter of luck. It's a matter of choices. And the best part is, you don't need to make huge sacrifices or become an athlete to start protecting your brain health. You only need to understand the risks and take small, steady steps toward a more mindful life. Let's start with the main risk factors. If you have any of these, don't be scared. It only means you should be more attentive and take better care of yourself. Hypertension. High blood pressure is the brain's silent enemy. It can damage arteries and cause blockages or ruptures. High cholesterol, fat that builds up in the arteries, can stop blood flow to the brain. Diabetes. Poorly controlled blood sugar damages blood vessels and increases the risk of stroke. Sedentary lifestyle. Spending most of the day without moving reduces circulation and weakens the heart. Chronic stress. Living worried, tense, or angry. Most of the time wears your body down from the inside. Now then, how can you start taking care of yourself today? Here are simple habits you can adopt no matter your age. 1. Improve your diet. You don't have to go on an extreme diet. Just pay closer attention to what you eat. Reduce the consumption of salt, sugars, fried foods, and saturated fats. It's not about stopping enjoyment, but about choosing more mindfully. More fruits, more vegetables, more water. Fewer cold cuts, fewer pastries, fewer ultra-processed products. 2. Move a little every day. You don't need to go to the gym or run marathons. Walk 20 minutes a day, stretch in the morning, go up and down stairs if you can. Moderate exercise improves circulation, strengthens the heart, and regulates blood pressure. And also, it lifts your mood. 3. Sleep well. Poor sleep alters blood pressure, heart rhythm, and the body's ability to repair itself. Try to sleep at least 7 hours every night. Create a calm routine before bed. Turn off screens, read a bit, breathe deeply. Your brain will thank you. 4. Monitor your blood pressure and your blood sugar. Get regular checkups. Learn to measure your blood pressure at home. If you take medication, be consistent. And if you have no symptoms, don't lower your guard. Remember, many of these problems don't hurt, but they harm. 5. Slow down when you can. Stress isn't eliminated, it's managed. Take moments for yourself. Listen to music. Walk unhurriedly. Talk with someone who does you good. Don't carry what doesn't belong to you. Your mind and body are connected. If one suffers, the other does too. Now you may be telling yourself, I'm already 60, 70, or 80. Is it really worth starting now? And the answer is, yes, it's always worth it. Because every change, no matter how small, adds years to your life. And not just more years, but years with quality, with independence, with joy. It doesn't matter how many times you've tried before. Today, you can begin again. Remember this, it's never too late to change and reduce your risk. The body has an amazing capacity to recover, adapt, and improve. It only needs you to give it the right tools. How to live with dignity after a stroke. Having a stroke is not the end. It can be the beginning of a new path, different, slower perhaps, but also full of opportunities to rediscover yourself, to grow stronger, to prove you still have so much to live for. If you or someone close has already been through a stroke, the first thing you should know is this. Recovery is possible. It can be long. It can require patience. But with proper care and the right support, you can improve much more than you think. After a stroke, the body needs time to adapt. And the brain, even if it has been affected, has an incredible capacity called neuroplasticity. That is, it can reorganize, find new routes, and teach itself again how to do basic things. But for that, it needs constant help. What can you do to start regaining your strength and your dignity? 1. Follow your rehabilitation exercises with discipline. Depending on the severity of the stroke, you'll need physical therapy, occupational therapy, and possibly speech therapy. At first, it may seem slow. Maybe you only manage to move a finger, but that finger is the first step. Therapists are there to guide you, but your consistency is everything. 2. Don't give up if your voice changes. Some people, after a stroke, have difficulty speaking. Words that once flowed now get stuck. Simple phrases become an effort. But with specific exercises, with the help of a speech therapist, and with daily practice, you can reclaim your way of communicating. 3. Take care of your self-esteem. After a stroke, many people feel useless, ashamed, or depressed. They isolate themselves. They think they're no longer good for anything. But you are still you. Your worth didn't disappear with the stroke. You can still contribute, share, love, and be loved. Dignity isn't in what you do, but in how you face what you've been given to live through. Listen to the story of Ernest, a 75-year-old man who suffered a stroke that left the left side of his body paralyzed. For weeks, he couldn't even hold a spoon. But he didn't give up. Every day, alongside his daughter and his physical therapist, he did small exercises. He stretched his leg. He moved his shoulder. He practiced speaking in front of the mirror. He fell. He cried. He got up. After 6 months, he managed to take his first steps with help. Today, he walks on his own inside his house and can hold a complete conversation. It wasn't easy, but he did it because he never stopped believing it was worth trying. 4. Lean on others. Recovery shouldn't be done in solitude. Talk with your family. Ask for what you need, not as a burden, but as a person who is healing. And if it's hard to talk with them, look for support groups. Today, there are communities, in person and online, where you can share what you feel, where others understand you because they've lived the same. 5. Take care of your emotional health too. It's normal to feel sadness, frustration, or fear after a stroke. Don't judge yourself for it, but don't stay trapped there. Talk with a psychologist if you can, or with someone you trust. Sometimes simply being able to tell what you feel is already part of the healing process. Living with the consequences of a stroke isn't easy, but it's not impossible either. With support, with time, with love, your own and from others, you can rebuild your life. Maybe not as it was before, but as a new version of you. A stronger one, wiser, more aware of the value of each day. Today you've learned something that can make the difference in your life, or in the life of someone you love. We talked about the symptoms we often ignore: numbness on one side of the body, difficulty speaking, loss of balance, or that strange dizziness that doesn't seem serious, but is. I told you about the 3-sign test, as simple as asking someone to smile, raise both arms, and repeat a short phrase. A test anyone can do in seconds. I told you about a 5-second movement that can help you gain time, activate reflexes, ask for help. Because sometimes that small gesture is all you have. We saw what to do in the first 3 minutes, how to prepare your environment, which habits to change starting today to reduce risk. And, if you've already been through a stroke, how you can move forward with dignity, hope, and determination. Maybe we can't avoid everything that awaits us in life. No one has total control, but we can be prepared. And many times, being prepared is what makes the difference between a tragedy and a second chance. The most valuable thing you have isn't your house, your money, or your memories. The most valuable thing is your life. It's your presence, your ability to be here one more day, to hug, to laugh, to say, "I love you." And all of that depends on what you do today. So please, if this video has helped you, share it with someone else. Maybe you're fine, but someone close to you might need this information and doesn't know it yet. And if with that we manage to get even one person to reach the hospital in time, it will have been worth it. And now you tell me, did you know about this 5-second movement? Have you lived through any experience related to a stroke? Do you know someone who has been through something like this? Leave it in the comments. I love reading you. I love knowing where you're watching from and how old you are. This channel exists for you, so that we're better informed, stronger, and more together than ever. Take care. Do the test. Train the movement. And don't put off until tomorrow what you can improve today. See you in the next video.